Hey guys, welcome to another Tuesday live stream, the 11th live stream of the year of 2019. Hopefully you can hear me and see me and all those good things. I was running a little behind because YouTube was saying, like it normally does, that my stream was bad. Now it says it's only okay, but my streaming software says I got good signal, so don't know how this is going to go. Hopefully it's going to be okay, and we can have a nice, good stream. I know there's a bunch of people in the stream waiting or on the pre-part waiting, so I appreciate you guys for doing that. Trying to get back in this new groove with the signal, or not the signal, but with Tuesdays and all that kind of stuff, and trying to just figure things out, trying to get my microphone in the right place. So I saw one person say, "Yay, video and audio." That was James that said that, and Old County Road says video and sound is good. Hopefully, I saw Cy Scooby said she can't get in or hear. Hopefully, that is no longer the case. Let me just say, if you aren't seeing picture and sound, refresh your browser. All right, let's see how that works. Okay, the show topic today is going to be about acceptance. I shall get into that momentarily, but before we do that, I am going to go through the normal spiel, which is my disclaimers. My first disclaimer is I am not a therapist. I am an individual, much like yourself, who has gone through a incredibly painful toxic divorce where kids were involved. And out of that nightmare, I came up with some tips and techniques that helped me to survive that I share with you to hopefully help you do the same and build a good, solid foundation for yourself and some stability for your children. If that sounds like something that would be helpful for you, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to get notifications when I do things. Excuse me, as I start choking. The other thing I always like to start out these shows by saying is, please do not diagnose your ex. Only a licensed clinical professional can do that. You do not want to get caught up in the trap of being accused of acting like a therapist and a clinician, and that you've delved through the DSM and you've figured it out and you are diagnosing somebody, because that will potentially blow up in your face, because they can turn around and use that to say that you're alienating against them, and it just hurts your credibility. Focus on the patterns of behaviors, what's going on. Don't necessarily focus on, excuse me, the what you think or what you suspect. Now, the only caveat on that is if you do have a diagnosis from a professional, well, then that's a different story. And there are some of the people on the channel who do have a diagnosis on their ex of NPD or BPD. So, and that's, if you have that, that's awesome. I guess it's not awesome that you're going through that, but it's awesome that you have an actual clinician saying that. If you want to get my attention, I will bring this over here on this other screen so that you can see it in theory. At least partly theory. If you want to get my attention, you can see right here, Blue did that. If you just do an @ sign and you start typing something, like if I type Blue, it will highlight the name. If you did DSD, it will highlight me. And then if you type in question, and then ask your question, that makes it, as you can see right here on the screen, real easy for me to see because it highlights my name. Actually, it highlights my name because I did that. Sorry. It highlights the tag in purple. I see question, and it makes it much easier for me to try to figure out when someone is trying to get my attention. The other thing you can do if you are so inclined, if you are on either I think mobile, whatever, you can do a super chat, where if you do a super chat, you can basically, it costs some money, but make sure you type a message. You can do that right there. And and you can scroll down, like if you just want to just get my attention real cheap, you can do it for whatever, and it will pop up on the screen. Make a little noise and all kinds of cool stuff to where I will definitely see your message. But typically I can see it if you just do the other thing with the taggy thing, and that helps out and it works out really well. So let me get back to where I was at. So, the other thing I wanted to mention, I've started doing newsletters again, and some people were great not hearing from anymore. So I've had a mass amount of unsubscribes, which is perfectly fine. But I am actually doing my newsletters again. So if you go over to the dadsurvivingdoors.com website. If it doesn't pop up and give you this annoying dialog box, you can scroll down right here and enter your name and your email, and you will be added into my list. Excuse me. As I'm here, man, I'm like having flummy problems today. I do have a podcast if you are not aware, which you probably are, but you can get to the show notes by going to dadsurvivingdivorce.com /podcast, or you can hit podcast up there, and then you can, like the last one I just did with Mark Ludwig from Americas for Equal Shared Parenting, you can go into the show and get the show notes, the links. I did screw up. I just want to say that when I interviewed him, I kept saying Title V. The reason I kept saying Title V is because where I work, we are governed, the civilian employees are covered by Title V, and that's one of those things that I kept drilled into my head. So instead of saying Title 4D, I said Title V. I should not have done that. It's actually Title 4D. I did add some links, and I do appreciate there was a person who sent me an email saying, hey, you made a mistake. So thank you for that. I've corrected that in the show notes. Whoops, wrong screen. Then I've also added the links to what the Social Security Act Title 5D stuff is, which you might find interesting. Plus, there's a couple videos on there. That's it. So that's what I wanted to hit. So let me see who all we have here. I see we got like 41 people already. Wow. I guess you guys really... I'm finally getting back in the groove of this Tuesday thing. I missed not doing them, so I'm glad I brought it back. But you got to try different things. So I'll just scroll from the bottom. So we got, Basquino. Excuse me. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel. Timbo Peep says, Duane, it's the Gillette. Is that a Gillette boycott beard? The timing was kind of suspicious, wasn't it? No, it's not. But it's funny. I've never done this ever in my entire life, so it's kind of interesting to do, and I'm enjoying it, having some fun with it. So we got Nicholas Wilson is on, Blue is on. Well, yeah, Blue says Mark had no problem with the whole Title V. I think it's because he thinks of it all the time, and I think he just I don't know. I kind of almost wish he would have corrected me on it, but I get it in the whatchamacallit, the throes of a live conversation that's being recorded. You just kind of roll with it. We got Kay Kelly, our Kay Lily Kay is on. Welcome. And I know earlier, if you guys were here, she had some good success. She finally was able to sell her house. So congratulations on that. Lorenzo Nobeck says, long time no see. Glad I caught the show tonight. Well, glad you caught it as well. And see, I'm going backwards, which is really going to mess up my whole tracking of what's being talked about. So let's just, what I'll do is I'll hit the first people. So for the people that were in early, which was James, who's also the moderator, James Broviver, Matt Roldan. Hey, haven't seen you on before. So how, you have a question? How do you, I'm going to grab that. I will put that in there, and we will hit that in a bit. If I can hit the right numbers or key codes. And we got D-Dad on here. James Boston, or John Boston, Melanie McClendon says, I really enjoy your shows. You've helped me tremendously. Well, I'm glad I've been able to help, Melanie. And Blues on, Jack F, good day from down under. Excuse me. Yeah, Kay had said, finally sold the house, Duane, no longer going to have to be coexisting with the ex. So really big congratulations on that. I couldn't even imagine having to do that. So I know you've been doing that for quite a while. Hey, the proper person is on as well. Hey, Alex, glad you could jump on. We were talking about you. You got brought up. I hung out a little bit on Wendy Hernandez's Command the Courtroom live stream. It was yesterday. Normally don't get to do stuff like that, but it popped up and I was able to do that. So if you are not aware, Wendy, our Command the Courtroom is doing live streams now. Let me just do this real quick so I can show you. Command the Courtroom. And this is who we're talking about. So she did her second live stream yesterday. I think she does them every Monday now, or is working to do that. So it was a pretty good discussion on that. Alex got brought up. Someone recommended that the three of us should do a collaboration, which I think sounds like an outstanding idea. We'll have to look into that. That would be a lot of fun. Let me get this reset. So yeah. Melanie says, I'm 8 months away from NARC and still in mediation. still hurting and now thinking that staying single is my best choice. I just don't trust myself to choose a good person. Melanie, give yourself time. And there's nothing wrong with going into the, I think most people go into this saying, oh, F this, I'm never doing this again. Work on yourself, get yourself stable. And when the time is right and you meet somebody, if you do, that's great. And you can deal with it. But nothing wrong with taking that stance. And that's really a good way to do it. Because you don't want to start out thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be alone. No one will ever, I'll never get in a relationship again. I think going in with it saying, you know what, I'm just going to take a break is not a bad idea. Spider Mandolin says, hello, looking forward to another live show and Discord. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do the Discord. I will play it by ear. So, anyways, okay, we got Miss Joy on. Okay, Lily. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down the bottom, make sure I'm not missing anything. John Boston likes my shirt. I like this shirt too. It's a t-shirt, but heck, I think it's cool. And since I can't really play that well, at least I can pretend like I like rock and I like guitars. Oh, cool. Old Shiny Road has a question. All right, let me jump into the topic real quick, and then I'm going to get into Matt's comment, and then I'll jump into Old Shiny Roads. And, okay. And I don't know if you guys are on the newsletter. You may have seen what I wrote about this, but the title of this live stream is Acceptance. And this is a very complex topic to really grasp in these things because we get so wrapped up in how we think things are supposed to go. And I wish that way back in the beginning of this, I could have been able to make my peace with the fact that I'm dealing with a toxic, potentially undiagnosed, narcissistic, personality disordered person. But bottom line, it was a very toxic person, somebody who was unwilling to work, unwilling to share. And when I say work, I mean work on being, not physically work. I get a job, that too, but basically doing everything in their power to make this as complicated and difficult and nasty and toxic as possible. I would have hoped that I could have seen that, realized it, and said, okay, accept that and work around it. But I did not do that. No, I did not. I spent a couple of years trying to force her to do what she was supposed to do, to force her to co-parent, to force her to change, to force her to cooperate, all those different things. As you guys probably are well aware, and even if you're early on this, you probably have noticed, wow, you know what? This is an exercise in frustration. And the thing is when you get into that mode and you get into that, I'm going to fight this, I'm going to make sure that they do whatever, you get yourself trapped. Well, that's what James just said. It's a trap. You get them trapped, or you get yourself trapped with them. And it looks like I'm having some signal issues, so it looks like it's green again. And the issue is that you waste that time and energy. And it's not even just that you're wasting time. You're focusing this energy that's really, really corrupting basically everything about what you're doing. It's really corrosive and destructive. Once you finally, I feel weird about saying, accept your situation, because I think that especially for early stages, can be very triggering to people, because you are so angry and frustrated about what's going on. But there was a period of time where when I got to that point, when I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm just beating my head against the wall, trying to do the same thing over and over again. And it was making my life more miserable than I thought it already was. Once I was finally able to get to that point to say, you know what, she is who, and this is for whoever you have, he or she is who they are. That is their core personality. You have tried everything in your power to make them change, to make them see the light, to try to encourage them to make better decisions that would make this entire situation so much better, so much easier, but it doesn't make any progress. It's one of those things where as soon as you can say, okay, I tapped the mat, I've had enough, and you can make that pivot to accept what the deck that you've been dealt and make the most of it. And it's really interesting because oftentimes, especially now, I look at my situation and I remember how bad I felt, how dark those days were. And honestly, my situation wasn't that bad in comparison to what some other people are dealing with. I was feeling that way even when I had 50-50. So, I mean, no matter what the situation is, there is going to be this stage where you have to work through it. Let's see, I see the relationship doctor says it is very difficult for the average person to believe that people behave as hijackals do. If you guys aren't familiar with the relationship doctors, she's coined that term. And here's the thing, using that term narcissist is really being overused. So she's pivoted everything to this term for hijackals to better quantify what we're talking about. And if I said that incorrectly, the relationship doctor, please clarify that for me. It says it takes quite a while for you to realize that you cannot change them and you're in an internal power struggle. And the thing is that they enjoy that eternal, if I said a different word, I didn't mean it, power struggle. They love it because they know it keeps you connected to them. Someone shared to me, and I don't like listening to HD Tutor, but someone sent me an email earlier with one of his videos. And he was talking about how all of this with you talking about them and worrying about them and fighting with them is just giving them power. That's the one thing, that's the other thing that we have to learn to accept is the fight with them fuels them. It empowers them. It keeps them going. It wears us down and it destroys us. It makes everything worse. But for somebody who is in this mindset, they really enjoy it, which is really horrible. So let me see where else we got going on. And that's basically the main topic I wanted to hit. So we'll see how that rolls into other questions. Oh, I see spiritually empowered coaching is here as well. It says it erodes us from the inside out. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Let me see. The relationship doctor said to Allie, I tell my clients that there really is no such thing as closure. Even death doesn't bring it. It's interesting to talk about closure. And Allie says, part of acceptance is understanding that there will be no closure. Yeah, and I don't know. For me, that was really tough too. I wanted some type of closure. I wanted something to give me what I thought I needed to be able to move on. Unfortunately, we have to do closure ourselves. You will never get it from one of these type of people. They're not going to do it. It takes compassion and empathy to be able to do that. All right, so I'm going to jump over to, where did I put it? Now I got to figure out where I put it. To Matt's question. I don't know if Matt's still on. And Matt was saying, how do you heal from your ex-narc? Well, in everyone's journey is a little bit different, Matt, but what I will say, the way I did this is I had an outstanding therapist. So if there is a way for you to find one, I would seriously encourage you to do that because they can be tremendously helpful. And then I coupled that with YouTube videos, books. I ultimately did hypnosis downloads. I even talked with my therapist about that. At one point, we were even going to work on EMDR, but at that particular time, I was not emotionally ready for that. I mean, EMDR is a little intense, and if you're somebody who bottles a lot of things in, it was tough. But I was really desperate for doing that. Here's the other thing, Matt, is it takes time to do this. This isn't something that's going to be quick. This isn't something that you're going to, you're going to read a book and you're going to spend a week and, take a week-long trip and then come back and be like, wow, I'm better. I'm over all of this. It takes a significant amount of time, especially when you've been dealing with somebody who is a toxic personality type or, as the relationship doctor says, a hijackal. And because you get really wrapped up in them. And it can take a couple of years to really start to heal. It took me pretty close to 3 years to start really feeling better. And then even as that started happening in my situation, there were periods of time where I thought I would. I mean, what I mean is, to roll the clock back, I'm doing just tremendously better than I ever would have imagined I could have done than I was a year, 2 years before, before now, and then before that. So it's one of those things that's going to be a gradual thing that will get better with time and with work. You have to work at it. The thing I want to add on there before I move off of what you were just saying, Matt, if you just put this in a box and hide it under the bed and ignore it, and you do not heal from it, and you do not do the work to process this, there is a high probability that you will repeat it again. The other thing you can do is you can use life coaches, or coaches and mentors, different things. Like, I know that Leslie does that. The relationship doctor does that. So there's other resources that you can find. See, here's the thing that's nice about a coach as opposed to a therapist. A therapist can't really tell you what to do. They can help you figure it out, but they're not a coach, right? They're not going to be like, okay, Bill, here are the options. This is what I see. This is what's going on. And these are the actions you can take. A coach, on the other hand, can, right? And that's why a lot of professional therapists are now starting to do coaching. One, because you can do it online, and it changes, the licensing part limits what you can do per state. But that's just something else to remember. You will get different services depending on who you are choosing to work with. And so, just to clarify before I jump off that, I think a coach and a good therapist, outstanding mix. And if you could even get to the point where the therapist and the coach can work together, that would be even better too. Measure Twice says, thank you for distinguishing between life coaches and therapists. I wondered about that. Yeah. No, a therapist is, a therapist is somebody who has gone through the schooling, which is at least a master's degree, and then does, in California, it's like 3,000 hours of supervised work. So you're working under somebody who's already licensed and is able to provide that time. So you're talking about 6 years at the least of college, plus another 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever, for the most part, you're not going to get every hour supervised. So you're talking about another probably 3 years to get to to be able to get your hours. And then on top of that, you have to take a test, and then you have to keep current on stuff. And like the relationship doctor, she's got her PhD. Yeah, she goes, that's why with a PhD in psychology, I shifted into being a relationship consultant rather than a therapist. Aw, thanks, Baneful Things. Thanks for the super chat. It says yes to a life coach. Yeah, I think, it changes what they can do, right? So, but anybody who is saying that they're a therapist and diagnosing online, bad, even a professional like the relationship doctor would not. And I keep saying the name just so you guys know what channel to go look for. It would be unethical to sit there like, okay, if by chance I was a professional licensed therapist, for me to say, I was looking at so-and-so's channel and I think they're this or that. That wouldn't be, oh my God. That would actually put your license at risk, because somebody could sit there and turn you into the Board of Behavioral Health and lodge a complaint, and they would investigate. She says her channel is for relationship help. And I think it's great, right? There's definitely different services out there. Okay. I know there was a couple other questions. Let me, actually, you know what? While I'm on this, let me just do this real quick. Ruh-roh. Somehow that's weird. I wonder how I did that. I closed YouTube. I closed YouTube over on this other thing, which that wasn't good. That was weird. What did I do wrong? There we go. Gosh darn. Okay. Let's see here. So what we're talking about is, let me do this. Chrome. So I'm going to do a search on her channel so we can pull it up. And whoops, sorry. I have two screens, so I was clicking on my wrong one. So this is, whoops. Okay, that is Roberta Shaler. She is the one who runs the Relationship Doctor. She's the one with the PhD. So she also does coaching and makes videos. So I would encourage you guys to check her channel out. We are supposed to do a collaboration and have her on the podcast. It's just scheduling has been really tough. So it's still in work. One of these days it'll happen. It won't happen this week because I have the kids. And but yeah, so definitely check her stuff out. And you guys know, let me just bring this up. Spiritually Empowered Coaching, and this is Leslie's channel, which I know you guys know Leslie. I share her videos every once in a while. I really enjoy her stuff as well. Okay, now let me scroll back up for the question. I'm gonna look to see what's going on here. Okay, so I missed something. I see Debbie saying something, but I'm not sure what all I missed. Oh, let me see. Okay, CWB1. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. If I didn't say that earlier, I don't think I've seen you on before. It says, I've accepted that my ex is BPD or a narc, but it's hard to accept because that means the past 20 years was a sham, and I think I wasted time, energy, and money. Well, okay, so here's the thing. And one thing I will say, I know that I say don't diagnose people, but I know in my mindset for narcissistic abuse recovery, the first thing or the second video is, I can't remember what it's titled right now, Absolute Thinking, basically says just accept that they're what they are, right? And the reason I say that is because most of us in the beginning part of this, whenever we're trying to wrap our head around it, you struggle back and forth. Like if someone points you in the direction, even if it's a therapist that says, they might be undiagnosed, maybe they have these traits, and you look at it, measure twice as it says, found you today. You have come a long way in 2 years. Yes, I have. And thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Excuse me. So that's the reason why I encourage people to do the absolute thinking, not because you're diagnosing somebody, but to where you can put it in your head and say, okay, I'm dealing with somebody who's BPD or who's NPD or who's whatever, just because if you don't, you're going to sit there and drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what they are or rationalize it or say, you're blowing it out of proportion, and it just slows you down. And then you get into that whole thing like with what CBW is talking about, is that you think that everything was a sham. And reality is, it wasn't a sham for you. You spent that 20 years in thinking that it was a legitimate relationship. Maybe it had problems, but you were putting in the effort to try to do it, and you thought that the relationship was fundamentally built on love and trust, and at least it had a solid foundation minus the muck. And then when you realize that people like this really are only in it to you, like in this thing, to use you for your time, your energy, and your money, it's a really bitter pill to swallow. So I think that's what Debbie was talking about whenever she answered that. Whoa, I just lost some stuff. Oh, okay. Now I understand the context of it. So Debbie had written and said, I've heard Duane or heard DSD talk about that many times in the past, but we both know all he went through is not a waste. He now helps others. Yeah, that's true. I mean, had I not had this experience, I would have never done that. I know there's some comment questions. If you guys have some comments or questions that I'm missing, I'm going to scroll back because I know I saw some earlier and I just don't want to lose it. I think hopefully Old China Road just asked the one, so I'm not missing a lot. And all right, so we got Old Johnny Road says, balancing the ex, asking / dictating a change in parenting time or a change in who picks up and drops off versus is this a battle that we really want to get into? Okay, here's the thing. And what I would say on this, Old Johnny Road, and you probably already know what I'm going to say, but it's a really great question. If it's something that's minor, you really have to choose your battles, right? And what I would say on that is, it primarily just stick with the court order. If they're making a mess on it, if they're not, so if they're basically saying, well, I'm not going to drop them off at 5 like it says, I'm going to drop them off at 4, or I'm going to do this or that, I mean, part of it is, I guess, if they're, depending on what the scenario, right? In my scenario, it's a little bit easier because the drops off, the exchanges during the school year are during the school. During the summer, it's a little different, but it's at, each parent drops off. And it's one of those things where it's like, is it really a big deal? I mean, go back to what I was talking about before. A toxic personality type is trying to cause conflict to get you to respond. If you basically if you just kind of like, okay, whatever. I mean, just even ignore it because you want to be a little careful in saying you're okay with changing things. And what I'll say is initially in my situation, we were doing a few different little things. And in other words, it's like trying to be reasonable. And you want to do that, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to be late. Can I do this or can we do that? And that's typically not the way it was. It was more of like, hey, I want this, will you do this? And then you do it. And then whenever you ask for something, they say no. You're just better off sticking with the court order and staying with that. The problem is, like looking at old Johnny Road's question here, is if the ex is making changes. See, here's the thing. If the ex says you will drop the kids off at 5 instead of 6, well, you just drop the kids off at 6. You just reply back and say, I'm going to follow the court order. It says 6. I'm going to drop them off at 6. The problem is if they start doing things where they're supposed to drop the kids off at 6 and they drop them off at 7 or whatever, still, I would document it. I would, in that documentation, I would also send a very small email that says, hi, X, comma, just to remind you, the drop-off times are at 6 and not 8. Per the court order, whatever. Just keep it real, like one sentence, just so that you can show that you sent a note on it, file that all away, and wait in case you end up back in court. And then ultimately, it's a matter of just deciding if it's worth it. And I would say most of the time, it's not. However, I also absolutely understand that whenever they are dictating and they are forcing the situation and exerting their perception of control, you really want to knock that down. You really want to take your finger and go jink it right in their eye because you're sick of them doing that. What I say is focus, go back to the fundamentals. The fundamentals are focus on your sanity and stability and then maintaining that for your kids, right? Now, the complete caveat on this is if they unilaterally decide, you know what, 50-50 was working, but I've decided that you can see the kids on the weekends and I'm not giving them back following the court order. That's a different story. That one you absolutely need to lawyer up and go back to court. So let me look for questions. Question. It looks like there might be a couple. That was me saying that. Okay, I did that one. This is a good one. And so Melanie says, when you accept, what is the fastest way to get your heart to match your thinking and the real facts? Okay. The way I did this is I had a mantra in my head that I would basically say every time I would question this. And for me, when I first had this, it took me about a month to really start to doing this consistently. And this also included doing hypnosis things and just really trying to drive this message into my head. At the time, I didn't have my channel, so I was watching like Richard Grandin videos and stuff to just kind of remind me of what it is. So one part of that is, one, a therapist helps. Two, if you find a video from me or anyone else that really speaks to you, play it on repeat. Listen to it over and over and over again. Or, use one of those apps to download the video off of YouTube and put it as a recording on something and just play it over and over again. The next thing is changing your internal voice to where whenever you are trying to figure this stuff out, you're reminding yourself. And this is kind of what would happen to me whenever I would start thinking that I would start ruminating about the past. Why, there was this one time that she made me tea. She said she made me tea because she really cared about me and she did it for me. So she did it for me. That means she's not a narcissist. Guys, I'm being a little sarcastic. And probably some of you can relate to this, but I absolutely was having this internal dialogue in my head, and my little voice was going, see, you're wrong. She's not that bad. You've just ruined this whole thing. It was just a little misunderstanding. Had you just worked a little bit more, it would have, right? Some of you, I would imagine there's, you know what? Give me a thumbs up if anyone out there, if you want to, if you're okay with admitting this, that, you know, you've had that same thing to where you're sitting there and your internal voice is just beating the crap out of you, trying to tell you that you are just a piece of crap and you've got this all wrong. What you have to do is when you have those, and this is what would happen when I start to do that, I would literally stop me in my tracks, and I would say this inside my head. I wasn't saying it outside. I was saying, no, this isn't true. You know, she's a toxic, you know, okay, going back to absolute thinking, I would say she has blah, 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 blah. That T was a manipulative tactic to get me under control. It was an illusion. It wasn't true. It wasn't based on love or respect or anything. It was all about manipulation. And Melanie, that is how, you know, for me, that's how I was able to start slowly changing it. Now, if I don't even have it anymore, but like a couple of years ago, I mean, even when I have this channel, every once in a while, those things would come in, and it's like that programming would just start instantaneously. Initially, you're going to have to start it yourself. Initially, you're going to be saying that to yourself. And then after a while, you know, it's going to kick in on itself, and the timeline that you're dealing with starts slowing down. I mean, so back in the day when this would happen, I would have maybe like, you know, a week, you know, if I would go down this pit of hell and it would affect me for a week, and I'd be sitting there trying to say this over and over again in my head and feeling like crap for a week. And then after a while, that week was a couple of days. And after a while, that couple of days was a day. You know, and after a while, that day that would, you know, it'd start getting farther and farther apart would be an hour. And then it starts getting slower and slower and slower to where then it turns into like a couple of minutes. And then it turns into, it's not even an issue. You've accepted everything. You've moved on with your life. You've seen the light on the other side. And you realize at that point that it's not worth the effort. And you know fundamentally what you're dealing with. That's the technique I use. I know other people do different things, but that's what I had to do in my situation to do that. Give it a try. If it helps you, outstanding. If not, look into other things to help you, like what you know, the stuff the relationship doctor does. You know, if your therapist, if you have one, does EMDR or different things. Try different techniques until you find one that clicks with you. I mean, all of us are wired a little bit different, so different things are going to work. You know, what might work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And on the flip side, what works for you might work for me. All right, let me look for other questions. And I don't think I'm thinking I'm current, but I'm thinking that's also not true. Let's see. Scott had said, in terms of closure, I borrow from my experience in AA. You must be willing to offer forgiveness knowing that an apology will never come. That is outstanding. I've never been a part of AA, but I like that. That's really it, right? Because you're really forgiving for yourself. You're giving yourself the ability to move on. Oh, excuse me. Okay, hold on. Let me look through the rest of this stuff. Oh man, now it's scrolled all the way down to the bottom. Spiritually Empowered Coaching says affirmations meditations, and hypnosis all work for me. See, that's cool. Timbo Peep says part of the acceptance process is facing your own weakness. We are vulnerable to deception. We are vulnerable to deceiving ourselves about our propensity to being deceived. Yeah, see, and that makes it tough because you don't want to accept it, right? You don't want to accept that this was an illusion, that it was fake, that you were tricked, that all this time and energy that you put into this relationship was never being reciprocated, nor was it real. And if you go into, let me back up here so I can bring this in theory.
Go to a British Sheila.
Whoops, went too far. Now I'm going back through the search. Okay, so if I go to Chrome, if you scroll down to the Mindset for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery playlist, I have, I wonder if I could click this without it starting. Okay, so I have a bunch of different videos in here. part of these reinforce this too. So, and going back to that other question, what Melanie was asking about, I mean, all of these things to basically affirm what you were going through, that you were in love with illusion, don't get sucked back in, understand that when they're being nice, typically it's a manipulative tactic. Just all these different things, having bad days, being in the fog. This playlist, I kind of put this playlist together to help people who are struggling with this, to try to give them a primer to try to kickstart what they're doing. So that's another thing, thing you can look at. Let me scroll back over here, get this reset. And I think my phone's making all kinds of racket. A potential spam from Round Lake, New York. God, I hate spam calls. And I always leave it on my desk so that way it vibrates when it's doing that. Hey, okay. So let me... Ooh. CWB1 says, I read someplace that pain equals resistance to acceptance. I've seen that before. I don't remember where that came from. But I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because, see, I think that's part of the problem that we have on this, because dealing with the pain, dealing with the reality, dealing with how you got to this point is not fun. It's not easy. And it's so much easier just to put it in a box, slide it underneath the bed, put some stuff in front of it so you can't see it, and pretend it never happened. But I tell you, because it hurts, it's painful. It's painful to deal with this stuff. The problem is you do that and it will blow up in your face because you're not dealing with it. You're not healing from it. So the way the world tends to work, whenever the world has given you an opportunity to learn and grow and you don't do it, it does it again and gives you another opportunity to do it. So it's like, oh, okay, you didn't get that last time. Let's do that again. I swear to God that happens in so many different ways. I know I've used this analogy before, but when I was in the military, I learned early on that if you were silly enough, now I'll say this, if you were stupid enough to say out loud that something was the worst, I've seen this happen so many times. The very next thing proves you wrong. In other words, I knew people who would say, oh my God, I thought my last supervisor was the worst supervisor I have ever had in my military career. And then boom, then it's like, oh my God, this next one's worse. I didn't think anyone could be worse than the last one, but this one's worse. Same thing with assignments. Oh, I hate this assignment. This is the worst assignment ever. The next one is worse. I mean, the way that happened with me is there was a period of time where I was trying to figure out where I was going to go. And I said out loud about a month before I got orders to where I am, because I had come out here, because it's near family, near my dad. And my dad had brought me out to the base I was at. We did some running around. And after we were done doing, I need to buy some uniforms is what I was doing. So he's like, hey, do you want to go hang out with any of your Air Force brethren? And I said out loud, like a moron, I hate this place. This place sucks. I would never want to be stationed at this base, ever. 1 month later, I get a call saying, hey, your orders are in. Guess where you're going? Yeah, so just saying, right? Take the opportunity to learn your lesson. Don't repeat it. It just keeps getting more painful. All right, I kind of went off on a tirade there. Let's see. Was there any other questions? Am I missing anything? Hold on a second. Am I missing anything? Am I up? Am I current? I'm getting the thumbs up from the moderator in the room.
You can type in question if you want.
I can do what?
You can type question and pull up stuff.
No, I did. I didn't see anything else. I went through the 6 questions that were listed in the chat, and that is it, unless I'm missing something. Oh, wait a minute. Shit, was that?
Oh, Jack F has a question.
Ah. Oh, okay. Oh, geez, I didn't see that one, but I saw it earlier. Thanks, Jack. Okay. Dink. Okay, Jack F says, what do we look for in a good life coach? Okay, part of this is going to be my approach for life coaches, therapists, attorneys. You want to interview, or if you know their body of work, like let's say you watch Leslie's videos or you watch Rebecca's videos from the relationship doctor. Roberta. I think I said her name wrong. I apologize. And it's like, does this fit with you? Even if they fit with you from that perspective, you want to chat with them. And how do you feel? I mean, do you feel like you're connecting? Is there a connection, right? I mean, that's even with a therapist. You need to make sure that there's a connection with the person so that you can work with them, that you trust them, that you have faith in what they're telling you and the direction they're giving. I would also say that if you're dealing with somebody and you start going, I'm not sure about this person anymore, listen to your gut. If you interview somebody, like let's say hypothetically I was doing coaching and you chatted with me and you talked and we're having a conversation, and at the end of the conversation if you're like, wow, that was really helpful, that's a good sign. If you're like, wow, that was really all over the place and I don't really know what we just talked about, that's not a good sign, right? So follow your gut, make sure you have a connection with them, and be objective about it. Do not just be starstruck for somebody, or even if you go into a therapist and it's like, wow, they've gone through all the schooling, they have the thing, they must know everything. You still have to be objective on it, because at the end of the day, everyone is a person, is just human, and they have their strengths and their weaknesses. So that is my philosophy on that, and I think it's really a good thing. Hold on. Ooh, B.L. Myers says, off topic, but she tagged my name, so it's nice and purple, so I see it. Have you watched the Red Pill movie by Cassie J? And if so, what did you think about it? Actually, I talked about that in the interview I did with Mark Ludwig in the podcast that I dropped on Monday. I thought it was very good. I thought it was an interesting watching the transition of Cassie throughout that. Because in the beginning of it, it was absolutely a hit piece. She went through that to expose the men's rights movement, to expose the entire fallacy of what these misogynist scumbags were doing. And when she peeled back the onion, she realized that there was more going on, and that there were some real issues, and that it isn't just a woman-hating movement. It's really about equality, and treating men with respect and treating women with respect, and trying to protect the kids. I thought I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I thought the sad part about this movie was that it destroyed her career. And I've seen other interviews with her. I was watching an interview that she had done in Australia, and she was talking about it, and she was being very upbeat. And the interviewer had asked, what did how has your experience been? And she was just like, it destroyed everything. I went into making the Red Pill movie thinking one thing, I came out the other way thinking something completely different, but I expected that my side was open-minded enough that whenever I presented this information that they would be able to objectively look at it, and she was destroyed. People who would fund her before wouldn't even talk to her. People who were her friends were no longer her friends. The media crucified her. The people who accepted her, even whenever she was being critical, was the side, it's like the side that she thought was monsters were like, hey, come on, have a conversation. Let's talk about this. We'll talk to you. And we're nice to her. And her side destroyed her. And anyways, in that interview, she even started crying. Not very long. She started getting misty about it because it's completely fundamentally changed the direction of her life. It's interesting because a lot of us go through that, right? We're all going through that, but in a different capacity because of the experience we've had. All of our lives have been changed on where we thought it was going. And kind of what I'm saying in this with Cassie, she had a vision. She knew where her career was going, what she was doing, how she was, going, and she was getting awards and accolades for all the other things that she had done. And it's all over, right? It's like us. We had our direction we were going, and in an instant, it's over. It's, now you have to step back and re-baseline your life and start over. And anyways, I know that's off topic, but thanks for the question. Maybe I should do a video just specifically on that, or a live stream just on that, because it would be interesting to Maybe I should try to interview her. Anyways, I digress. Let me scroll back down and see what you guys are saying, because that was on the top of it. Lord says, I own a copy. I actually own a copy too. Well, I own a digital copy. I got it on Amazon. I show it in class to my kids. Really? You taught? Huh. Actually, it's not a bad idea, right? I mean, because if you could understand this stuff before, you could protect yourself. I don't know if it's on Prime. I think I tried to watch it for free, but it was not. But see, that's what I thought, Lords. I thought you were a heating and air conditioning teacher. So, I mean, that's okay, guys. We're going to take a break from the control systems, and we're going to watch the Red Pill. But you know what? People need to see it. You'd be so much better off seeing this before you need it, as opposed to afterwards going, oh my God, that's my life. Blue says, where can I find the movie? Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on iTunes, but you have to pay for it, I think. I currently don't think it's available for free. Let's see. How to keep more of your cash. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, if you're Prime, it is free? Okay. I didn't know. I'm pretty sure I bought it on iTunes. I also bought Divorce Corp, which that was a depressing movie as well. And I think part of the thing that's happening is this is starting to not just affect men, it's affecting men and women. So I think that's really going to, like I said in the podcast, I think it's going to help with change. All right, let me grab this one. God, we're almost coming up on 7. Holy cow. I'm gonna hit this, and I haven't completely read it, so hopefully I can answer it. It says, Shannon O'Brien says, any advice for dealing with the anxiety that comes from complex post-traumatic stress disorder? Most stuff is getting better for me, but the anxiety just seems stuck on a 6 to 8. I know that Richard Grannon has a whole series on healing from CPTSD. So all I can talk to you about is the way I dealt with this. And what I would say is if Spiritual Power Coaching or the Relationship Doctor, if either one of you guys have videos that specifically talk about that, share it in the comments and I'll approve them so that you can see them. Okay, for me, it was a combination of what I was talking about before. A lot of it was using those hypnosis files. So when on the podcast, when I'm like, the sponsor is hypnosisdownloads.com, do the dadsurvivingdivorce.com/hypnosis. It was that to keep my mind calm. Measure Twice says Peter Walker's book on PTSD is very helpful. I actually haven't read that yet. I want to. It's in my pile of books. I just haven't been able to do it yet. Anyways, Blue says, do you mind that I shared your video of you and Mark Lidwick on a parental alienation group on Facebook? Yeah, no, you could absolutely, guys, share everything. Come on, it gets more awareness out, and I mean, it helps the guest it helps the people who come on the show to get more exposure, which is great because then it makes more people want to come on the show, and it helps the show grow. So absolutely, please share anything you want to. I have no problem with it. Hell, even if you have a problem with it, saying, "Oh my God, can you believe what Duane said? Check out this video." I don't want hate, but whatever. It's out there publicly. Whatever you want to do, to share it, go for it. If you want to use a part of my clip, just get with me and I will not have a problem with that, and we can discuss that later. But back to Shannon. So partly of me, it's taking an active step to get in the moment. Basically, I think you would call it mindfulness, and relax myself. In other words, I slow myself down. I take a deep breath. And then I kind of rationalize what it's really not as bad as I think. This isn't, I'm blowing it out of proportion. I'm saying in my head what the reality is. Like if somebody is provoking you, you'd be like, okay, so in that situation, it would be like, okay, all right, this person is trying to gaslight me. You're saying it in your head. Slow down. What they're saying isn't real. I know it's real. Some people will even do things, do the methods where you're like, okay, what do my senses see? Okay, I see, like right now, I see a camera, I see my screen, I see an umbrella with a bunch of lights in it, You're kind of bringing you're forcing yourself to slow down, because what happens is when the anxiety happens, it starts going faster and faster. It's like a sled down a hill, right? And you just let it keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and it makes it worse. Now, this is not something that you're going to fix overnight, right? I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I used to get anxiety attacks driving to work, because the ex, whenever she drops the kids off, we end up oftentimes passing each other, and just seeing her in the car going the other direction would screw me up, would make my days bad. I mean, it happened the other day, and I was like on the phone, and she happened to drive by, and it was like no big deal. I'm like, whatever. I mean, I didn't notice it, but it was no big deal. But I noticed other people too. Like, oh, hey, that's Bill. Oh, hey, that's Tom. That type of thing. Okay. All right. So I don't know if that was helpful, Shannon, but that has been my take on it. I do want to share something before we run out of time. And I got this care package, right? So I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah. So that's my address is listed in all the descriptions of the videos. So this person sent me all the way from Canada, sent me a care package, and it's Adriano Galino. He said I could say his name, and I'll try to put his email in on it. So what he sent me, and what he did is he sent me some artwork in an email. He's like, hey, this is some stuff that's been inspired. And I asked him, I said, hey, can I show this stuff? Because this is awesome. So he sent me these cards, right? And I'm just going to grab one. I'm going to grab like this one, right? So it's like this. And then on the back, he wrote what the emotion is, which I don't know if you can read that. I'll probably have to, I'm going to screw everything up. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Yeah, pretender, right? So that's this one. And so now let me try to refocus on me. There we go. Okay. And so check this out. So you got this. I like this one too. This one's pretty cool. It's paralysis, right? And it's these, and so it's his artwork, and it's all these different ones. So like codependent. You know what? Here, let me do it this way. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna focus so I can get it closer. Okay, so codependency. This one's cool. Emotionally and physically exhausted. Anxiety. We were just talking about that a minute ago, right? We got envy. Emotionally disconnected. Aren't these awesome? Aren't these great? Life's highs and lows. Love that one. This one's pretty cool too. The good and bad within us. I love art. Isn't this great? This one's a good one too. Care and respect. Care and protect. Okay, how about this one? Self-sabotage. And these are all on nice cardstock too. This is, I was only expecting a couple. See, now I'm out of focus, but I'm not done yet. There's more. Because he sent a lot. We got self-talk. Isn't that cool? Then we got empathy. I love that one with the heart. Isn't that great? I love the contrast of these things too. Rancor. The power is within you. Isn't that awesome? This is a good one too. Passive aggressivo. And then this one. I like this one too. Lessons to learn in life. Anyway, so that is, let me focus on me again. In theory, aren't those awesome? So if you guys are I asked him if he had a website. He did not. Yeah, I think he does sell. Hold on a second. And I should have done this before. Let me pull this up. Oh, come on. My computer is running slow. And I'll do it. All right. He said, because I asked him, I said, I received your package today and they were amazing. I really loved them. Is it okay for me to show them on a video? If so, can I send people to a website or social media for you? He says, glad you like them. Or he says, Duane, glad you like them. Yes, please show them in your videos. For now, perhaps you can just use my email, which is info. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. I am going to grab this because this was so cool. I was so happy that, it was really neat to get this care package. So if you want to, even if you just want to say, hey man, those are really cool. I saw them on Duane's live stream. You could send a note to info@Adriano Galeno, which is ADRIANOGALENO.com. And now for your military people, I will do it this way. Info, Indio, November, Foxtrot, Oscar, at Alpha, Delta, Romeo, India, Alpha, November, Oscar, Golf, Alpha, Limo, Echo, November, Oscar, Charlie, Oscar, Mike. Hopefully you guys appreciated that. It's been a while since I've done the phonetic alphabet. Holy crap, I almost screwed myself up. Anyways, I really appreciate that. So, Adriano, if you watch this, buddy, I really appreciate that. I've had a couple people send me pictures. One guy sent me some photos of him and his daughter, which is really awesome. So I really do appreciate it when you share that. And I do on the videos. I don't remember. I think it's Mike. I don't remember it being called Mary. But see, different people do different things, right? Police do different than the military. Now, when I was in the military and went through basic training, they drilled that crap in my head. But I'm old now and I can barely remember stuff. Anyways, let me look. So Shannon says, cool art. It absolutely was. Timbo Peep says, a dark aspect of the healing process is the battle against revenge head movies. Against revenge head movies. The rage that keeps coming back and burning up brain time constructing the perfect revenge scenario. That's a really good point, man. And I actually fell into that as well. Just don't act on it, right? There's nothing wrong with thinking stuff. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody about your secret little plan or what you would like to have happen. It doesn't help anything. Blue says I should mail the artwork to my teens. That's awesome. And I didn't. Spiritually Empowered asked if he sells them. He definitely should. I'm not sure if he is going to start selling them. He should though. They're really awesome. I love them. Okay, let's see. Measure Twice says watching karma carry out revenge over the years is wondrous. True. However, don't enjoy it too much because sometimes whenever you get a little too much of enjoyment out of it, karma will come back and bite you. Let people, people draw to them what they create. These evil people are going to bring evil back into their lives. We need to focus on getting good, positive things in our life. Hippie, does anyone else think he looks like Bob Seger? Are you talking about me? I think that's a compliment. Normally I get, man, you kind of look like Stephen King when he doesn't look good. Does that make us his silver bullet band? That's pretty funny. That's awesome. You guys are good. Thank you for making me smile. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Let's see. So I hit the artwork. I definitely wanted to see that or show that. I may have to pull that out, and make that a separate clip so I can really do a shout out to him on that. Is it okay? So I'm gonna just put. I'm down at the bottom of the comments. Is there anything that I've missed or something that someone wants to hit before we go? If there is, please tag me and say that. James says maybe a T-shirt line with that artwork. That would be freaking awesome. Yeah, that would be great. I'll have to. Hopefully he watches this. I'll send him a link to an email to this because I'm assuming if he was on, he would say something. And depending on where he's at Canada, it could be pretty late. I know for like even Leslie from Spiritual Empowered Coaching, it's getting pretty late there. I love this. Vasquino says, if you're in need for a new supply, you've got the wrong guy for a t-shirt. Are we going on? Are we going to try to do Discord, or do we have time? How are we doing on time after this? All right, we may do we'll do a little hangout on Discord. So yes, I'll have to take a quick break for that. So on that, here, let me do the cool outro. Let me do this. All right, guys. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with me. Back on our normally scheduled date and time. I still do the Saturday live streams, but this Saturday I have the children, so that will not be on this weekend. It will be the next weekend. If you have not had the chance yet to hit that subscribe button, please consider doing that and ring that notification bell so that you will get notified when I post new videos and have a scheduled live stream. Thank you, James, for the last the super chat. It says, T-shirt fun. I'm glad Tuesday streams are back. Thank you very much on that. And thank you for being a moderator. If you guys have not signed up for the newsletter, you can find out more on that. Not there. You can find out more at dadsurvivingdivorce.com, and then just scroll down and see the join. Well, either do that, drop it in there, and if it doesn't do that, you can sign up over there. I would love to be able to interact with you on that. And if you do get an email from me, feel free to reply back. And I will do everything in my power to try to reply back. I know I get bombarded, but I love hearing from you guys. On that, have an outstanding rest of your Tuesday, and I will catch you guys on the next video and live stream.